Welcome, it's the Intuitive Lover Girl. Today I'm going to be discussing the 7 feminine archetypes. Before I get started, I wanted to thank you for stopping by. I'm Jada, and women's empowerment, tarot, and spirituality are passions of mine. This year, I feel connected to myself and my femininity and spirituality more than I have felt in previous years. And I want to continue down this path of self-discovery and improvement while sharing with you my journey. As a disclaimer, everything I say in this video is based solely on my experience and from casually researching these topics. So please take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. Now, let's get into the video. What are the feminine archetypes? Well, in order to understand what a feminine archetype is, first you'll have to understand what an archetype is. And the archetype is a reoccurring pattern, while a feminine archetype are patterns of how a woman displays her feminine energy. Feminine archetypes reflect the differences in a woman's personality, her motivations, interests, strengths, and typically we have about 1 or 2 dominant archetypes that arise within us. However, it's important to note that all of us possess the 7 feminine archetypes. We just express them differently in different times of our life, depending on the stage of life we are currently experiencing. Why is this important to know? Well, understanding the feminine archetypes helps us understand how different women express their femininity, how we express our femininity, who we are attracted to, who we attract to us. Having this understanding gives us a grasp on how we're presenting ourselves in the world. And it allows you to tap into the strengths of certain archetypes in moments where that energy is needed. The 7 feminine archetypes are the maiden, the lover, the queen, the mother, the huntress, the sage, and the mystic. The maiden. The maiden is typically deemed as a very youthful or young woman. She essentially embodies the early stages of feminine development and womanhood. These women are characterized as pure, idealistic, and curious. The maiden typically shows up in the world of 1 or 2 ways. She can either be the damsel in distress who is receptive, innocent, vulnerable, and just waiting for life to happen to her. Think Cinderella being bullied and bossed around by her evil stepmother and stepsisters, just waiting for Prince Charming to come rescue her. While on the other hand, she can show up as someone who is irresponsible, rebellious, and someone who is just drawn to risky situations. Imagine Bella from Twilight begging Edward to turn her into a vampire.
You're beautiful. Beautiful. This is the skin of a killer, Bella.
What both of these women have in common is simply that they're unexperienced. Neither one of them has had enough time to really discover who they are and the power they have within themselves, and to demand that for themselves, demand better for themselves, and find the strength to make things happen without relying on a man. The maiden typically won't fully mature and become self-actualized until she actually endures a significant emotional or physical loss. The lover. This archetype has been around for the longest of all the archetypes, and this happens to be my prominent feminine archetype. I actually have 2, and if you would like to know what the 2nd archetype is, then make sure to come back next week so that we can take the feminine archetype discovery quiz together. Now, the lover represents a woman's primal urge to connect and create. She is the gateway to sacred sensuality, creativity, passion, and the ability to captivate. When the lover is active in a woman, she feels compelled to fulfill both her procreative and creative instincts. Not only does she crave a type of intimacy that can catalyze healing, but she also compels us to channel our feelings of passion into creation, whether that be another human being, a connection with another person, art, a poem, a manifestation of a new reality, or even an invention. The lover is extremely magnetic to those around her, as her presence is rooted in pleasure and the here and now. A great representation of the lover archetype would be the legendary and iconic Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor. Fun fact, growing up, I was obsessed with Elizabeth Taylor because I was drawn to her sensuality, glamour, and class. The Queen. The Queen embodies confidence, purpose, and sovereignty. She is the key to confidence, leadership, and alliances, and the ability to manifest. The Queen is motivated by an instinct to marry and build meaningful alliances in order to leave behind a legacy. Therefore, she typically is attracted to powerful and assertive men who can match her capability of taking charge not only at home, but in business and in social interactions. The Queen demonstrates complete loyalty to her king and his goals. However, she may feel incomplete without a partner. And oftentimes with kings come other women, which predisposes the Queen to jealousy towards these women, especially those who threaten her position socially or the status she has as a wife. The first person who comes to mind when I think of the Queen archetype is Beyonce. If you really listen to her lyrics, you'll know that there is absolutely nothing she would not do to protect the union and the business that she has with her and her man. If you know, you know. The mother. The mother obviously represents a woman's maternal instincts, which is the ability to nurture, create, protect, and establish heart-centered relationships. Unlike the lover whose instinct is to procreate, the mother finds great satisfaction protecting, being responsible for, and taking care of others. She is simply a natural caretaker. However, these women often find themselves putting the needs of others above the needs of their own, even neglecting their own needs. This is because women of the mother archetype find it difficult to maintain boundaries. This leaves them emotionally accessible, but when I think of the mother, I think of Mary Poppins. Her sole purpose throughout the movie was to take care of these two kids, and she was constantly advocating for them, nurturing them, and instilling knowledge and faith into them. The Huntress. The Huntress is referred to as the wild woman. She is the personification of the independent woman. The Huntress emerges out of us on a path to independence and warrior spirit. The Huntress values autonomy, attaining her goals, and the ability to pursue a life of her own choosing. She rarely takes orders or responds well to authority, and the Huntress stands for competency, independence from men in their opinion, and commitment to causes that she is passionate about. Women who dominantly possess this energy often view themselves as protectors of other women, especially those who have been victimized. Christina Yang from Grey's Anatomy would be someone who I would consider to be a huntress. She wanted to become the best cardiologist there was, and she wanted to do that in spite of the power and dominance men had in her industry at the time. She didn't want to get married and have babies. She wanted to enjoy men in the capacity that was convenient for her, while she became the best surgeon that she could possibly be. The Sage. The Sage embodies wisdom, maturity, and truth. The Sage is often referred to as the wise woman. She represents women's pursuit of worldly knowledge, strategy, and objectivity. Women who are dominated by the Sage archetype are often practical, competent, and competitive. The Sage is extremely purpose-driven. She sets and maintains strong boundaries to uphold her goals. The Sage archetype is ruled by her head and not by her heart. Therefore, she tends to connect and relate more with men. These women even struggle to form meaningful relationships with other women, as they can be perceived as emotionally aloof. They are often viewed as protectors of patriarchal views, as they are drawn to powerful men and corporate life. The perfect embodiment of the Sage from pop culture would be Olivia Pope from Scandal.
And you are?
Olivia
hope.
Listen, I don't exactly know what you do or how you do it, but when you walk through these gates, things start happening. The press starts falling in line, the Secret Service gets extra secret, and when you go back out, everyone's breathing a little bit easier.
Olivia was extremely intelligent, objective, and strategic. She climbed the ladder as a lawyer and did very well for herself in politics in Washington as a minority woman. But she also had an affair with the president and defended the president's involvement in multiple scandals, even though he had some questionable ways of doing things.
Cameras.
I don't care.
The mystic, also referred to as the goddess. We embody the mystic on our pathway to freedom and inner peace. Mystics are the most misunderstood and underrepresented archetype. Unlike the huntress and the sage who direct their energy on external goals, the mystic focuses her energy on internal fulfillment. The mystic is deeply introverted and focused on her inner spiritual world and is concerned with maintaining inner peace. She is capable of detaching herself from emotional situations and outcomes, which explains why these women are incredibly self-aware and insightful, aiding to her healing ability. Mystics also have a very peaceful and serene energy about them. She often values solitude and feels peace within her own skin, but she is also fascinated by the seductive allure of mystery and often engages in rituals and esoteric practices. A good representation of this archetype would be Janae Aiko and Lisa Bonet. They both are spiritual women who kind of isolate themselves from the spotlight. However, they both form very deep romantic relationships. How can we work with the feminine archetypes? Well, it's important to remember that each of us have these archetypes in our psyches and they can be activated at any given time. So for example, during college and in the early stages of our career, we may activate the sage archetype, while during marriage, we may activate the queen archetype, and in motherhood, we'll activate the mother archetype. Anytime we fall in love or feel passionate, we activate the lover archetype. Now, this video is just a brief overview of what the archetypes stand for and how they present themselves. There are more concepts I can elaborate on in regards to these feminine energies. If you want me to make a deep dive video series, in this series, we could converse further on the types of people that these archetypes attract, the types of people that these archetypes are drawn to, the fashion the archetypes wear, as well as the light and shadow sides of each of these. Until then, don't forget to come back next week so that we can take the feminine archetype discovery quiz together and discover what our feminine archetypes are and what makes us unique in our energetic expression. I enjoyed making this video for you and I hope that you enjoyed watching it. I look forward to chatting with you soon. This is the Intuitive Lover Girl and I hope all of you lovers enjoy the rest of your day.